Most amateurs lack body power because they sit back and loop with their arm in front, so their body and arm are never in sync. This is what you're missing. Watch me use power again. In, out. Let's start with the first key point of the backhand loop against backspin. The first key point is you must get low and stay down in your stance. For the backhand loop against backspin, never have your left foot forward and right foot back. When I loop, I often put my right foot slightly forward because I feel it helps me generate power more effectively. Creating space on your backhand side is the most important thing. So, how do you create that space? If the ball jams you, use a parallel stance. But if the opponent's return isn't deep and is a bit softer, a parallel stance can easily make you lose your position. So when you feel you're losing position, you must step in with your right foot to adjust, which will improve your timing and power. However, if the opponent attacks with a fast, long push that's deep, you can use a parallel stance without needing to step in. For a ball like this, use a parallel stance. Don't think that always having your right foot forward or always using a parallel stance is correct. For a basic loop against a standard long push from your opponent, a parallel stance is perfectly fine. But if the ball is a bit softer, you must step in with your right foot, not your left. Stepping with your left foot will block your swing. The second key point is our ready position. Many amateur players stand too close to the center, causing them to loop from the side of their body. Even we professional players don't dare to loop from the side of our body, so don't attempt the impossible. The backswing for this shot should always be kept within the frame of your body. I feel the racket should be near my left thigh, because if it's straight in front, it's very difficult to create a good arc. My backswing is almost always near my left thigh, unless the ball comes to the middle. For a normal cross-court or down-the-line return, we generally keep the backswing within the frame of our body. Many students stand like this, and they even do their backhand rip this way. I always tell them to stand further to the side. Only by bringing the racket within the frame of your body can you generate more power on your backhand loop. This is how you can generate more power. In a match, if your opponent pushes the ball wide to the sideline and your positioning is wrong, you'll make an error on every loop. So, your left leg should align with the edge of the table. Then, during your backswing for a non-wide ball, use your center of gravity to load up power. Don't hit from the outside of your body. This point is extremely important. Second, let's talk about using the body in a backhand loop, which is completely different from a forehand loop. Many students ask me if the center of gravity should go down more or rotate left more. Personally, I feel I use my left hip more for power generation. But a famous coach says to drive the right hip more. I understand this point and have discussed it in depth. Why does he say to drive the right hip? Because many balls come slightly towards your middle. So, for a standard backhand loop, you should engage your core and slightly drive the left hip. For balls to the sideline, it's definitely the left hip. If it's a left side spin ball, or one towards your middle, as long as your right foot is forward, all the power comes from the right hip. In a normal parallel stance, you generally use the left hip for power. All balls to the sideline also use the left hip. Only for balls slightly to your right, like shorter ones, curving ones, or ones to the middle. Anytime my right foot moves, I use my right hip. The backhand definitely needs a hip drive, but the range of motion is different from the forehand. It's not as large. So when you take your backswing, you must incorporate the feeling of using your hips. Most amateurs' backhand loops are either core in, but out, or just a simple squat down, stand up motion. For a backhand loop, the body loads power as you get down, and at contact, you drive outwards to generate force. Let me explain this power generation, so you can see if you're using your body correctly in your backhand. Do your loops always go long? Your body mechanics are actually correct. Your biggest problem is that your eye level is up here, looking straight ahead. You need to bring your viewpoint down to here. You have to get this low. Then drop your hand. After the loop, the swing should finish near your right shoulder. At your current angle, your center point is here. But you stand up to loop, so the center point rises, which makes the arc long. Why is the arc too long? Because you're standing too tall. So if the opponent's push is a bit tricky, with more side spin, or if you try to use power, the ball will go long. You must lower your center of gravity during the backswing. Your power phase should start from a low point, but you're starting it high, which guarantees it will go long. Since you don't get low, contacting the ball high versus low makes the forward drive and arc length completely different. The second problem is that your stomach is pushed out during your backswing. And when you generate force, it pushes out even more. You should pull your core in first, don't sit back. And then drive forward into a natural posture as you hit the ball. Right now, you're starting with your stomach out and then pushing it further forward, which makes your power very dispersed. The correct way is to pull your core in first, then drive to a normal, relaxed state, and stop there. When the ball comes, during the backswing, pull your body in and follow the ball. Don't stick your butt out, there's no power load that way. You must pull back along with your backswing. Stop the follow-through earlier. Your body posture is much better. We don't want you sticking your butt out or sitting back. If you start by sitting, your only option is to straighten up. The start is to pull in, the finish is to drive out. It's the same as the forehand. If you don't rotate your hip, how can you drive forward? If I don't pull in, how can I generate power? Let me loop a few for you. I feel my pulling in motion is very good. In, out. Most amateurs lack body power because they sit back and loop with their arm in front. So their body and arm are never in sync. This is what you're missing. Watch me use power again. In, out. The feeling of the backhand is like waiting for the ball to come and pouncing on it. Don't push forward to meet it. Pull it into your body. Wait for the ball to get to you, then drive it back out. That's where the power comes from. It's like absorbing the ball. Don't get too close. If your body is close, your hand can only be in front. Any further in and you're jammed, so you'll instinctively loop with your hand out front. Once you learn to generate power with this body motion, your backhand will feel much more efficient. Third, a common mistake with the hand is that when they loop, the backswing looks like this. My forearm drops straight down on the backswing, while yours goes backward. It should go down. Using your elbow height as a pivot, my forearm drops during the backswing and comes up after the loop. This makes the ball much easier to loop. It's just like your forehand loop. Because your forearm doesn't drop. When your opponent serves with heavy spin, you can't lift the ball against its strong downward pull. Also, if you don't drop it down and keep your arm tense, you're wasting energy on the backswing. Only by dropping it can the forearm be properly relaxed. Second, let's talk about the racket head. During the backswing, the racket head should point to the 7 o'clock position. Imagine the racket faces a clock. 12 is at the top, 6 is at the bottom. The racket head should point to 7 o'clock. I'll loop one with my left hand for you, following the coach's advice, racket head at 7 o'clock. I can't really play left-handed, I'm just coaching myself, forearm down, racket head at 7. Then, upon contact, I drive through the ball. See? The loop goes over. During the backswing, whether you're left-handed or right-handed, it must be the 7 o'clock direction. Because only from 7 o'clock can you properly brush the ball. Many players misunderstand. Even if their forearm drops, their racket head is still at 9 or even 10 o'clock. This means you're essentially still pushing the ball up. I approach the ball with the racket head at 7 o'clock, and at the moment of contact, I rotate it to 10 o'clock. Watch my racket head, 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. This is that crucial brushing motion. Most amateurs struggle with backhand loops against backspin because their arm drops straight down, but their racket face is at 9 or 10 o'clock. Then they use their upper arm to push up. Without that brushing action, you can't lift a heavy spin ball. You really can't brush it up. So you must find 7 o'clock. I'm not even using power, just 7 to 10. Let's show a short ball motion. 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock. 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock. You're at 9 or 10 o'clock now. You can't even loop like backspin, let alone heavy backspin. Simply put, you can't lift the ball. It's like a banana flick. You can't flick like this. But if your racket head is at 7 o'clock, you can flick it and generate that spin. As long as I execute this 7 to 10 motion correctly, I can just whip the ball. Yes, after that initial lift, I treat the ball as if it were topspin. They give you spin, you lift it up, create the arc, just make sure to grip the ball. After that, you can generate power mostly forward and sideways, without needing to go upwards anymore. Now, the power for this 7 to 10 motion doesn't come from rotating the wrist. It comes from the fingers driving the rotation. During this 7 to 10 process, the forearm doesn't move much. If you come up like this, that's moving the forearm. Many players can't produce quality shots because they can't separate the movements of their upper arm, forearm, wrist, and fingers. It's the same for the forehand. When looping backspin, if the arm moves as one unit, you can't generate power. If you can separate them, the brushing at contact is the fingers, then the forearm, then you break the motion, that's how you get quality. Why isn't 7 to 10 working for you? Because you're using your forearm. That's no different from just lifting your forearm to push the ball. The main rotation is actually driven by the fingers moving the racket head, which grips the ball's heavy backspin, and then I lift it up. That's the feeling. If you use your forearm, you're still pushing. You can't use the forearm for this initial lift. Forearm-driven friction only works against light backspin. Against heavy backspin, a fast side under, or a hook serve, you won't be able to loop any of them. The next step is using the forearm for power. When you want to hit a powerful backhand, the forearm is the primary driver. For example, when I want to punch a topspin ball, it's forearm acceleration. When I want to rip a loop, it's also forearm acceleration. Think of it this way, after lifting the ball, my wrist is now locked. Why do so many players hit the ball long? Because their wrist is loose throughout the entire stroke. We learn the power loop to finish the point after a good serve when the return is weak. Not to get into a long rally, which demands too much from our footwork and anticipation. So the second key point is, after I lift the ball, the wrist must be completely locked. If you can't lock your wrist, this will be the result when you use power, guaranteed to go long. After reaching 10 o'clock, lock the wrist, then generate power with the forearm. Forearm power. This is a key point. How do you use the forearm? After 10 o'clock, the forearm doesn't just jam forward or upward. It feels more like I'm rotating my forearm outward. Look, after I loop, my hand ends up over here. Without this outward rotation, I can't generate any real power. If I stop here, this is my maximum force. If I generate power upwards, the arc will be too high. So, in the final power phase, you tighten your wrist and have a sense of outward forearm rotation. You can think of it as a whipping motion. Give me a topspin ball. Hitting it like this is called a punch. What does a whip feel like? I have to move like this to call it a whip, right? When the ball comes, this is definitely what I call a whip. Imagine it as a whip, but you need to control it. Think of it as a direction for your power. Like a general drawing his sword, he definitely draws it sideways. There's a common mistake, thinking that after brushing, you can go directly sideways. Anyone who loops like that will never reach a high level. We must get to the 10 o'clock position. At this point, my forearm and upper arm are still bent. And then I need to drive forward. This motion shouldn't go directly sideways from the start. After I brush to this point, I need to drive forward while generating power to the side. This is like the finishing motion after a banana flick. I don't just go sideways from here. From here, I need to go forward and sideways. This is the effect of the outward forearm rotation. Not rotating in place, but driving through the ball while rotating. See? Now that has quality. But as for the hand skills, more brush or more impact, and the racket angle, you'll need to constantly adjust based on the incoming ball. But if you ask me about the overall framework of the backhand loop, this is the feeling. The biggest mistake amateurs make on the backhand loop is dropping down and lifting up, or pulling back and wiping sideways. You need to understand it's a framework issue. Only with this framework can you unleash the explosive power of your backhand loop. Let me loop one for you. You definitely want to have a loop with this kind of quality. How is it produced? It's what I just talked about, getting your center of gravity down. You must feel pull in, drive out. Second, you must perfect the 7 to 10 motion. Only then will you dare to whip the ball like this. The most critical point, for a backhand loop against backspin, you absolutely must be bold and drive forward. Feel like you're meeting the ball head on. If the ball comes and you back away, or go up, or go sideways, or go soft, you won't be able to loop it. The backhand is so much harder than the forehand. I've never seen anyone lift their upper arm over their head on a backhand. But I've seen people lift their upper arm to get a forehand loop over after missing the timing. Try lifting your upper arm on the backhand. You still won't be able to loop it. So you absolutely must perfect the 7 to 10 motion. When you have this ability to brush the ball, you can then adjust your backhand. Otherwise, your backhand will always be weak, and you'll fall back into the cycle of pushing and waiting for a forehand opportunity. The feeling of a backhand loop is like a general drawing his sword. No general draws his sword straight up, he definitely draws it to the side. That's the feeling. So for our backhand loop, the overall motion must drive through the ball.